I've never been trained in IT whatsoever, at least
Really?
not formally trained. I'm a microbiologist by training, by academic
Mhm.
training, and got into bad acquaintances with Russell and Marcus and Carlo, who some of those who work with BP experts, we decided we'll be better off on our own. And we started BP experts, and here we are.
Hello there, Jochen. How are you?
Not bad. Thank you, Jette, for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining this interview with me. As we already know, it's all about showcasing the awesome people that work behind BP Experts, and I'm really excited to have you with me today so we can share also from your perspective because you're one of the partners of BP Expert. So before anything else, maybe could you introduce yourself to us?
Oh, introduce myself. It's a long story.
We have
All
time.
guys in that company. No,
Yes.
actually, maybe starting with a bit of a fun fact for an IT consultancy. I've never been trained in IT whatsoever, at least
Really?
not formally trained. I'm a microbiologist by training, by academic
Mhm.
training. Also worked a good time in the laboratory to get my PhD done, but that involved just using tools. I
Mhm.
mean, those days were the start of people actually using computers very much in a day-to-day situation. Of course, in physics and math and what you have in informatics, that was all established. But I was still writing my first emails on a black screen with command line commands. No
Wow.
Windows, no. That was a nightmare because I wasn't particularly attached to that, I must say. But then after leaving the lab, I was looking for opportunities to do something that was interesting and would offer opportunities outside academia. And that was the starting period of something called bioinformatics
Mm.
and also the parallelized analytics revolution. So the Human Genome Project and all of that was in its onset. So I joined a bioinformatics company in Switzerland and had a fantastic and very, very educational time there. Was a brilliant team I was working with. But since I was not a programmer and not a statistician, I started in um, sales, consulting, also a bit of training and project management. I'd spent my time in the lab working with bacteria. And
Mhm.
while the Human Genome Project was still in its infancy, more and more pharma companies had sequenced a good number of different bacteria already and were hoping to use the data for antibiotics research. So that was a good match for me to basically work with peers just from different sides of that fence. Us as a software provider and teaching people how to use bioinformatics, and my client peers basically trying to apply. And this is how I grew into more and more technical roles, into consulting and project management. And yeah, eventually I got exposed to processes, business processes, changed jobs, and got into bad acquaintances with Russell and Marcus and Carlo, who some of those who work with BP experts for a long time may recall. And at some point, we decided we'll be better off on our own. And we started BP experts, and here we are.
Yeah, it's been a crazy ride, I can imagine, right?
Definitely so. Very exciting times, ups and downs, but I don't regret a single minute of it.
Of course. That could even be worth another episode, just the wild ride of BP experts within the last years, right?
I'd spare the boredom for you.
Oh,
You know, it's like old uncles coming for Christmas and telling you about their youth. What could be worse?
no, but I think that's great to see the evolution from starting in the field you started to where you are right now. And I assume you're still happy with it, with your work at BPX.
Yeah, no, definitely so. And I mean, to me, it really is still a bit like the old days. It
Hmm.
just have to be curious about
Yeah.
what you're doing, what is changing day to day, and then working with different clients on different projects. It's all the time exciting. I've never believed in all those statements like a project is a project is a project. I mean, that to me, that doesn't make sense. Every project is different. Of
Yeah.
course, there are good practices, and you learn all the time how to run projects more
Hmm.
efficiently, more successfully. But the time you don't take an interest in what this project is really about, then you're losing it,
Yeah.
is my opinion. And so that's why I keep preaching to the whole company and all colleagues, like, stay curious. And everyone's grinning at me when I start that sermon again.
Yeah, no, that's, I think you have a very good point in that. And I think at BP Experts, there's so many different projects, so many different things happening. Maybe you could share about like some of your favorite projects that you've been working on, or your favorite activities.
No, absolutely. I would probably start with one of the first big projects we also founded BP Experts on, and
Yeah.
that was when we did the implementation of a risk management system, basically, for a large chemical and metal refinement company in Germany, and they were concerned about the potential for losing material during the manufacturing processes. They were dealing with large amounts of precious metal. So there isn't anything like waste. Every chip, everything that may fall on the floor, is still precious.
Yeah.
So they wanted to get a grip on and also document well where could material get lost, what could happen, what are the expected amounts of product you would expect, how much of waste material would you expect, and all of that. And while being part of that project, we had the opportunity to see a lot of the actual manufacturing processes. I mean, people in Germany will be able to refer to that, but to me it was like Sendung mit der Maus for adults. I think in Britain that would be Blue Peter. So
Oh,
you, you're able to look at things you never had a clue about, how complex they were, and how much skill it takes to actually do these awfully complicated things. And that while being paid and being able to add value to your customer was awfully rewarding. I love that, and also had very much fun with the people who I worked for and I worked with during that project. And this is a bit of a theme that kept on. Like for the last, well, many years by now, I've shifted pretty much from process management or risk management consulting more to IT project management. But still, every project has its own acronyms, it has its own motivations, why the team needs an IT tool, why they want to upgrade, why they want to build something in house. And understanding this why, keeping interested in what is so special about clinical development, what is so special about manufacturing processes in pharma versus chemistry versus more commercially oriented, well, sales organizations and things. I find it interesting that, but that's probably also why I'm still in this trade and have not shifted to anywhere else.
of course. Yeah, no, I think that's the most important thing, right? That you're happy with what you're doing and it doesn't get boring, and having great people to work with and so
No,
on, right?
absolutely. Although, I mean, when you're saying that's the most important thing,
Yeah.
I get a bit itchy, I must say,
Tell me.
because of course there is the grunge work. It's
Yeah.
not always fun. You do get under pressure. You feel like it's good enough what I've done. Why is either supervisor or the client, why are they asking for more? What's about this and that format? I've submitted that. da 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 da. And the odd person can be awfully annoying. But probably so am I to other people at times. So I don't believe that work always has to be fun, full stop.
Yeah.
But of course, that balance has to be there. If you're annoyed every day, you're probably not at the right spot. If you're frustrated every day, either you need training or a new job. But I think it does take stamina, but you don't have to overdo it.
Yeah, that is a very good point. I mean, BP Experts is a very international organization, I would say, right? What do you think are the biggest benefits of that? Or do you also sometimes see some
Mhm.
challenges in working with people from different countries, different cultures, and so on?
Not really. Well, first of all, I really enjoy working in an international environment, also on the client side, not just within BP
Mhm.
Experts. And comparing us, especially at our size, with many other firms, I think we are amazingly diverse. And I'm always surprised how well that works out. On the other hand, I also realize that there is a tendency sometimes to just assume, because we have so many nationalities and backgrounds and by now an amazing age span, we all get along well, and there aren't any problems, and washing over misunderstandings. And I think the a challenge for all of us is to stay aware, stay alert of those little signs of people
Mhm.
being annoyed is too strong. Well, just being on the rim of being offended or really being offended, people not understanding, people having different etiquettes, for example. It's easy to wash over that, but you have to stay aware of these little differences. Yeah, always question the cliches you stick to. Cliches are there to make your life easier and to well have this Lego brick plugging into each other without having to clarify each and every personality. But you also must be prepared to question the cliche with every individual, with every nationality, with every age group that you're in touch with. And again, stay curious, be prepared to learn and be surprised.
Yeah, no, I love those words. That's great. I would say another thing that makes BP Experts very special is our remote working culture. I'm curious, like, has it always been like that? Or what were like the major points where you said, okay, everyone should have the possibility to work remotely? Of course, we gather for co-workings, but maybe you could explain the reasoning behind that a bit.
Sure. I mean, in the beginning, there was quite a dichotomy between the working style of BP Experts as a company and the working style our clients expected. So, in the beginning, it was very clear if I wasn't on site at the client, I couldn't report and book hours.
Hmm.
So if I wanted to write invoices, I'd better travel and quite a lot actually. And then came COVID, of course, and everybody realized, oh, maybe it's not a cool idea to be on site. BP Experts internally, since we started small and knew we wanted to do consulting and we wanted to serve different clients, we didn't need offices in the beginning because we were on client side anyhow. The argument also was like if we are well booked and have our projects, we don't need an office because we won't be there. However, if we don't have projects and don't earn well, how would we afford an office?
Good point.
So we bet on a remote working strategy from the beginning for VP experts.
Hmm.
But we also realized that in order to maintain this personal touch, we must meet regularly somewhere. And to me, the more informal afternoon and evening before the company day is at least as important as the company day we regularly have every quarter also. And yeah, since COVID, I don't hardly travel, at least in comparison to the initial days. Maybe I'm a day a month on site at a client, or and also meeting colleagues doesn't happen so much more often. Nothing in comparison to the 4 to 5 days a week before. So I feel that is a huge benefit, but I also know it's not for everyone. So some people start feeling lonely, some people miss the more personal interaction. And it's true, you're missing out on the coffee talk with people you work with. And yeah, also your calendars tend to be more densely packed because every slot in your calendar is like, I can organize another meeting. And before it was clear, people had to either drive or walk from one place to another, and there was more space. But one thing I miss least is probably those stupid hours on the Autobahn, sitting in a car, having to pay attention to traffic, and that is the most wasted time in the world.
Yeah, that is very true. Yeah, no, I think those are some great insights, and I think you're doing a good job with having those requirements or like those possibilities for people working at BP Experts because it seems to work, right? So
Yeah, and I mean, we had people who quit with BP Experts saying, a fantastic bunch, I love working with you,
mhm.
but I can't stand the remote setup. And sometimes, which is super cool, you meet those same people later on and they are your clients.
Yeah, that's a full circle moment there.
That is rewarding because then you know they really didn't leave you because you were jerks, but
No,
because they needed a different environment.
of course, and that's important. Everyone is different, right? Yeah, no, that's great. So maybe one last question. What is something that always has to be there on your working day? It can be you always need your coffee in the morning, your favorite snack during meetings, anything you want to share with us?
I think the one thing I'm particular about is I want to have lunch. Many consultants don't believe in lunch, I feel, or a proper break. And you see them then, they come into your meeting and chew or eat while you're this. I hate that because, well, first of all, it doesn't feel like a break if you're
No.
eating during a meeting. I find it impolite to everybody else on the meeting. So I'm always a bit peculiar when somebody squeezes in a meeting into my lunch hour.
Fair.
But of course, you can't be totally binary about that. Sometimes you have to make room, and sometimes you only get quarter of an hour, 20 minutes, and have to be fast. But if I can arrange for it, I'll have a proper lunch break.
I love that. I feel like those are the best closing remarks we can get from this interview. That we also need to pay attention to our well-being and have lunch.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your experience and time with us today, Jochen.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.
You too. Bye bye.